Do you believe in the afterlife? Do you believe that our spirits can remain in the world long after they leave our earthly bodies? Today on Weirder After Dark, we'll be exploring a house in Gardner, Massachusetts. It's believed to still be the home of the spirits of Sylvester Pierce, his family, and visitors who once roamed through the doors and down the halls of one of the most famous haunted houses in Massachusetts. So whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join us as we journey through the life of the S.K. Pierce Mansion.
Welcome back to Weirder After Dark. I am Sean, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Chris.
And Kathy.
And we got a banger of an episode for you here today. Kathy, you're leading the charge, right?
I am, yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I have a question for you two gentlemen.
Oh, coming in hot.
Are you believers of ghosts?
Ooh, I think I don't know enough to make a decision one way or the other. I'm highly skeptical, but I also recognize there's a lot that I don't understand out there.
So you're open to the possibilities.
I'm openly skeptical.
I've never seen a ghost. I've never heard of ghosts. I have cried myself to sleep thinking about ghosts.
Right.
I am open to the fact that they are there, but I don't know if I'll ever see the evidence required to make me a true believer. If I'm being honest.
How do you feel about portals, Sean?
Well, okay, this is a hard topic. There is a potential portal in my bedroom, but we'll save that for another time.
Okay. And I know that you had a little bit of experience with portals on another tour that we did. Now, I have a story tonight that might also involve a portal.
Are you shitting me?
I am not.
I'm out of portals. I don't want to go anymore.
That's how the spirits come and go, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And once there is a portal, multiple spirits can be coming and going?
Yeah, it's like a revolving door.
Can they take you into the other realm?
I've never known of a human being taken through a portal.
Do you know what I want to know? If these portals do exist, why can't I just get like that nice ghost that's just like, I just like to clean places and just like cleans my fucking house or something? Like,
I would appreciate one that does laundry.
Yeah.
Sean, at my house, we have a laundry fairy. It's this amazing thing. I just throw my dirty drawers on the floor. The next day, they end up in my drawer cleaned and folded, so I don't question it.
Do you know how I get one of those? That sounds great. That sounds great.
Yes, Chris, tell him how to get a laundry fairy.
So first, you got to get married. And then they just show up.
It's the weirdest thing.
It's like a wedding gift. All right. So trying to get back on track here, I have a very interesting story about the S.K. Pierce Mansion. Have either of you ever heard about that?
I have not. No.
I think I heard about it before. I know it's like haunted related, but I'm going to be honest, I don't remember like any facts at all about it.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit right here, right now. So
Let's do it.
located in Gardner, Massachusetts, the S.K. Pierce Mansion has a long and ominous history that has led to it being known as one of America's most haunted locations. Paranormal teams like ghost hunters, ghost adventures, ghost stories have used this destination as the backdrop for their hit television shows. Along with these teams and numerous mediums that have visited the house, it was certified as being haunted. But in order to understand the house today, it's important to look back on the history and everything that came before.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do you get certified as haunted? Is it like a committee? Is there like
I imagine an
standards?
inspector comes out, you get a sticker on
Yeah.
his door.
I think
2 out of 3 groups thought this place was haunted.
Oh my God, yeah. Like 6 out of 7 doctors recommend it. Yeah.
I think it basically, yeah, they had some mediums and psychic and empaths come out to the house, and they had these paranormal teams going out and doing some investigations. They came away with enough evidence that it was sort of unanimous that this house is believed to be haunted.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I'm terrified it should be burnt to the ground. I also was just doing a quick Google. I was curious, being New Englanders here, like I was trying to look like, where is Gardner? And it's in the fucking middle of nowhere. It's just like Midwestern Massachusetts. Just creepy.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
Dang.
So Sylvester Knowlton Pierce, born April of 1820. I keep struggling when saying Sylvester. I don't know why. So I'm just going to refer to him as SK throughout this episode. So SK had anything but an easy upbringing. His father died when he was 3 years old, and he grew up on a farm with his mother, where he later moved and ended up living with his uncle at 11. Eventually, he leaves that homestead and at 15 starts working at a chair factory. At 20 years old, he began working for Stephen Taylor. 5 years later, in 1845, he purchases Stephen Taylor's factory with his brother Jonas. Now, something kind of interesting about Gardner is today, Gardner is known as the Chair City because it had, I think it was like 12 manufacturing companies that produced furniture. So it was one of the largest locations for furniture manufacturing in the United States. That's accredited to S.K. Pierce.
Chair City.
Chair City, yeah.
Chair City, baby.
And you can still actually go in and you can actually like buy chairs that resemble, I mean, they basically look like those old rickety chairs that, no disrespect to SK and his legacy of chair building, but yeah, they're pretty antique-y looking.
The colonial day chairs.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Can I throw a random fact?
Sure.
Not about this story at all. Do you know what Manchester, where we are currently recording this podcast, what they have just got labeled as? We are the what city?
The
Any idea?
murder capital of New Hampshire.
Fucking not wrong. not where I was going. Not where I was going. What is Manchester known for?
Is it
No idea.
cotton mills?
I think we definitely have a ton of textile mills here, so I definitely think like from a manufacturing standpoint, that's it. But apparently the chicken finger was invented in Manchester, New Hampshire, and we are the
At the Puritan.
chicken. Yeah, the Puritan.
Yes,
The Puritan.
I've
Yeah,
heard this.
Yeah, chicken finger was apparently created at the Puritan.
So random.
Well, we are the chicken finger city, so they're the cheer city. Just saying, there's a connection. Okay.
So SK played a huge part in the establishing Gardner on the map for manufacturing furniture and chairs. Years later, after buying his first factory, his brother Jonas kind of split off and went and did his own thing. But where SK continued doing this, it led to him becoming extremely wealthy, highly respected, and known within the community. So the same year, in 1845, SK and his wife Susan, they were married. They went on to have a son named Frank, who was born June 13th. 1856. With the wealth and the prestige that SK had in Gardner, he was determined to build what he considered to be his dream house. The construction started in 1873 and took over 100 to 200, but these men worked around the clock to build this extravagant structure. It literally looks like your typical spooky house, like Addams Family kind of thing.
So we're talking like 2-3 floors.
Four
like
floors.
Kind of, 4 floors.
4 floors.
Fuck you, SK.
Yeah.
Flexing on us.
Yeah, it had a Maynard roof that topped a 4-story tower. Do you know what a Maynard roof is? I had no idea either, but we've all seen them. It's kind of the best way I can think to describe it, and I apologize because I talk with my hands and people can't see me using them to describe this. Is a square on the top on all equal sides, and then as it comes down to the sides of the walls, it expands out.
Like a farmhouse type situation. Your face says no. Okay. You know
No. Think of the Addams Family house with that part up top.
Think creepy house.
Creepy house.
Creepy, spooky.
We'll
haunted
throw
house.
some pictures
Yeah.
on that Instagram, right?
Yes,
So
I have
Later
some,
After Dark.
yeah, definitely. I have some pictures, so there will be some up on our Instagram page for you to see. The final estimation for the cost once this house was completed in 1875 was roughly $80,000. Any idea how much that's equal to today? Take a wild guess.
You said $80,000?
80,000, roughly.
$1 million.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like 3.2 million.
It was 2.3 million.
Oh, I got the numbers right. Backwards.
Just backwards.
Oh.
Inside the house has elaborate woodwork made up of 16 different types of wood. And a major point to really express SK's wealth was the house had indoor plumbing and running water, which was collected from the roof in buckets that ran throughout the house. And so it was plumbed that way. And back in this time period in 1875, houses didn't have running water or indoor plumbing. So it just wasn't something that was common, I guess. So the house had gas lighting, speaking tubes, so you could speak into the tubes between the rooms.
What?
Electric bells, yeah.
So they ran tubes so we could talk to each other from
Yes.
across the house.
So like you could
All
be
right.
in your room and I'd just be like, "What up, Kathy?"
You're like, hey, Sean.
Oh my god.
So this is all very cutting edge for that time.
Yeah, this was a statement piece. This house definitely stood out. It was making a statement that he was somebody who had wealth and prestige. He made sure everybody knew it.
Can I ask a totally random question?
Sure.
I don't know anything about these sound systems, but like if you have like multiple kids and they're like crying in the middle of the night, is that just now echoing
Echoes
throughout the whole
everywhere?
house? Goes like, fuck kids, if that's the case.
I don't know exactly the workings of the speaking tubes. I did not search that.
Yeah, they regretted those fast, is what I'm thinking.
They're stuffing
you
them with socks.
basically can eavesdrop on anybody in the house at any time.
Guess, yeah.
Spooky shit.
Yeah, yeah. So it had electric bells for communicating and even boasted a dumbwaiter, which reached 3 floors. It had hand-carved molding and cornices, which spoke volumes to a time when houses were built carefully and lovingly. The house is 6,661 square feet. He did that deliberately. Not deliberately the 666, but he added the 1. That's why it's...
Oh, to break it up?
Well, it's 6,661. He added that 1 extra foot onto the square footage, supposedly, because the 666 is the devil's number.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like the house is already kind of off to
It's
maybe
a little cursed.
Little eerie start.
I definitely think, there's a reason this place is haunted, and we figured it out.
The house has 11-foot tall ceilings, 10 bedrooms, and 2.5 baths, totaling 26 rooms. There are 70 doors and just as many windows, with a tower with a circular staircase leading to a widow's walk, providing sweeping views of South Gardner.
What do you do with 10 bedrooms?
Have lots of children, and there's servants. They had servants back then.
All right,
So,
that makes sense.
yeah, so the 10 bedrooms wasn't necessarily just for, like, the immediate family. They had butlers and nannies and maids and cooks that all lived on the property.
Now, clearly, SK's got that chair money, so I just want to, I get it. He's got the chair money.
He's got
but,
bank, yeah.
How the hell do you heat 6,000 square feet? How many trees is that motherfucker chopping down just to heat that house?
Yeah, I read somewhere that every room had its own fireplace.
This is my butler, Charles. His full-time job is keeping the fires going.
You would need to in a house that
That
big,
guy's
right?
just running from room to room. He's got 40 rooms.
Yeah, just wood. It's
Real
constantly
bells of
on
wood
there.
going every direction.
So the Pierce family, they finally get to move into this house, and sadly, tragedy hits. It is claimed that 4 weeks after they moved in, Susan, SK's wife, died from an aggressive bacterial skin infection on January 6, 1876, 4 weeks after finally getting to move in. But don't worry, because a quick year later, SK finished his mourning and he remarries Ellen, a woman 30 years his junior. She was just 6 years older than his son Frank.
All right, SK.
Dude.
Got some game?
Chair money, though. It goes
Chair
far,
money.
man. It goes far.
SK and Ellen, they went on to have 2 more children together, Stuart and Edward. Frank disapproved of this marriage, and it became an even bigger issue when his father passed away on January 28, 1888, and SK left everything to his wife Ellen. Now, this back in the 1800s was not common. Typically, when a father would pass away, his inheritance would go to his older son. But when Ellen passed away in January of 1902, the house ended up getting left to the 3 brothers. This led to years of courtroom fighting, and eventually the house went to the youngest son, Edward. But unfortunately for Edward, this house just hasn't had a lot of luck, and history repeats itself. Because in 1918, Edward's 2-year-old daughter, Rachel, sadly dies from influenza. As the years passed, Edward came across financial struggles, and the house started to deteriorate from the once magnificent representation of power and wealth to ruin and being run down. Edward eventually lost the house and had to sign it over to a gentleman named J. Stemmerman. This is interesting because I came across some conflicting stories, and I'll let you know what they both are. The first one is personally my least favorite, just because really it's just not as exciting. And it's really just Jay and Edward were friends, and occasionally Jay would help Edward when he came into financial troubles. It was said that Edward was on the verge of losing the house due to back taxes. So he ended up selling the house to Jay as a way not to lose the house. So that was reason 1. Now, the second reason I found, this is my favorite because, like I said, it's just a little more interesting. Edward was at a poker game, needed something to wagered the house for a value of $30,000 to Jay, and he lost at poker.
Don't do it, Edward. Don't do it.
So yeah, Jay, regardless of how he got the house, he wasn't all that bad because he did allow Edward to remain in the house where he lived until he passed away. After Edward's death, Jay decided he was going to put in $100,000 to fix the house up. But mysteriously and for unknown reasons, he just upped and abandoned the house.
Still owned it and just pieced out?
And he just left. After putting $100,000 into fixing it up, he just walked away from it, just left it where it sat abandoned.
Is this guy a baller?
I don't have much information on Jay.
Yeah, he's clearly a baller. If you can drop 100 G's into something, it's like, I'm
Yeah.
bored.
Well, I mean,
This is my biggest asset. I'm going to just leave it.
I mean, they were playing poker for $30,000. I mean, that's the stakes that they were putting up playing cards.
Maybe the 2 theories kind of go hand in hand too, right? Because you're like, theory 2 is he lost the house in a game of cards. And then theory 1's like, yo, my buddy Jay bailed me out. He's my boy. And maybe they're both true. Maybe he lost the house in a game of cards. And I was like, I don't actually have 30 grand. And his buddy Jay just like, I got 30 grand, baby. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
Give
I
me
own the
the
house
house.
now.
Yeah.
During a stretch of time, the property was once a boarding house from 1926 to 1965. And now there's some rumors that it also was a brothel. I like to believe that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I think probably maybe the house was used as a boarding house, but there was some shady stuff going on. Prostitution, gambling, drinking, other than the prostitution, all the fun stuff. So for several years, on and off, the house exchanged hands between different owners, and there was almost 2 decades that the house stood uninhabited by the living. But the locals believe the house was never truly empty.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is believed that in the basement there is a spirit of an older, more grumpy gentleman. This is suspected to be Edward, the last living heir to inhabit the house. Investigators also claim to sense a small boy that drowned in, I guess, like a water tank down in the basement. The first floor has people claiming to come in. Sean, I see your face. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So wait, I just want to back up. So SK died there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his wife died there,
Mm-hmm.
and one son.
Yeah. SK, Susan Pierce, and then Ellen Pierce, Edward Pierce, and Rachel Pierce.
Fuck. Okay. We
Yeah.
have some deaths
So
Okay.
far.
Okay.
The first floor has people claiming to come in contact with a small boy who is playfully roaming between the rooms looking for a friend.
Is it creepier if it's haunted by a child and the child's just like, play with me,
Child ghosts-
play with me?
Child ghosts are scary as fuck. So the second floor is home to a couple that inhabited what is called the Red Room. Here it is believed that a man named David killed a prostitute one night while the house was being used as a boarding room. The story is that the prostitute used this room to service her customers, and one night a gentleman was not particularly satisfied. So he ended up strangling her. I laugh because it's awkward and I'm uncomfortable. In order to escape, he placed her body in the closet, and visitors of this room, particularly women, state that they have difficulties breathing and are uncomfortable while they're in the room. On this floor is also where one can find Eno Sari, a World War II veteran who lived at the boarding house around 1963. While serving in World War II, he suffered a head injury and had a metal plate implanted in his head, and this caused him to have severe headaches, which left him to self-medicate, and his preferred drink of choice was moonshine. One night, while Eno was laying in bed after heavy drinking, he was smoking a cigarette, and it is speculated that he fell asleep.
Public service announcement: don't smoke cigarettes in bed.
Guests of the house smelled the smoke as it billowed from his room, and the crews were called. He was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead at 47. It is believed that to this day, his spirit continues to roam the floor of his last resting place. Something odd about this fire was that when firefighters extinguished the fire, it was contained to only the bed and the man laying on it. The floors, the walls, curtains, all remained mysteriously untouched. Mm-hmm. People say that on occasion you can still smell the scent of burning wood. As quickly as it comes, it vanishes just as fast. I mean, I don't know what to think of that.
I mean, there's 10 fireplaces.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
Still a little creepy, though.
Yeah, that's creepy as fuck.
So, mediums claim that a woman by the name of Abigail sadly stays behind as she searches for a lost child. Another permanent resident of the house is believed to be Maddie Cornwall, a nanny that lived in the house during the 1800s. She reportedly was in charge of caring for SK's children. Maddie passed away at the age of 25 from an acute inflammation of the hip.
What?
Back then, I guess you get a cold and you start picking out your plot.
Right? We've got like a skin infection was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little girl died of the flu.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like, I got an ingrown hair. I might die.
Amputate it.
Oh.
Amputate the limb off. It's believed that she remains to this day looking to tend to the children in her care, along with the other ghosts who call this house home. It's also reported that while the house was vacant, 2 men attempted to break in. However, they were chased out. When the cops were called due to one of the men laying on the front yard in the fetal position, the cops start questioning him, and he says they were chased out. So the cops go inside the house, they search it, they come out, they're like, there's no one in there. And the statement is, I said we were chased out of the house. I didn't say it was somebody.
Ooh, that's scary.
That's a hanger right there.
And it is believed that Maddie Cornwell protects the house.
And that's in a police report.
Honestly, I respect this burglar. I'm just saying,
He stayed.
Yeah.
He was found in the fetal positions, and he was like,
that's my spirit animal.
Yeah.
People who are just like, oh, I'm a fucking wolf. Like, no, I am a burglar who just got scared by a ghost in fetal position in the front lobby and taken away. Like, ugh.
Officer, put me in jail where I'm safe, please.
Take
Can you
me
stay
away.
with me tonight?
Now, on the 3rd floor, can you guess who permanently resides there?
SK?
SK.
SK, the chairman.
As doing my research, I was like, where's SK? Right? He built this house. Where is he? So on the last floor, you will find a room that he spent most of his time in. The room once boasted large furnishings with a pool table displayed in the center of it. It is said that SK becomes agitated and the energy shifts when women are in it. Most likely due to this being his sanctuary, or what we today call a man cave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man cave. Definitely.
So, Sean, there's something else special about this room.
What's that?
This is where the portal's at.
Of course.
Love
Yes.
it. Love it.
So there are reports that if you go over into where the portal is, you can feel the temperature change. It gets very cold.
So when we go there, I'll be on the first and second floor. You guys take the third floor. I'll handle the first and
What's
second.
wrong? What's wrong with portals, Chris?
I'm not
You're
going
scared
to the portal.
too?
No, you're not going to
You
no
ain't going
portal.
no fucking no portals.
Come on, man.
In 2009, the house was sold to Edwin Gonzalez and Lillian Ontero. After moving into the house, they began having experiences of disembodied footsteps, doors closing, objects moving. And I mentioned this ghost earlier, were neighbors claiming to see through the windows a small blonde-haired boy running around, despite the fact that this couple had no children. They even allowed the observers to come inside and look at the space where they would see this boy running back and forth in front of these windows. And it was impossible because there was a wall in between the two windows. So there was no way that anybody could run back and forth in front of these windows.
So the neighbors saw a blonde-haired kid, and they didn't have any kids.
Yeah, they had no children. There were no children in the house. Yeah. They also had a small child, and the small child supposedly told his parents that the blonde-haired boy said, I can't go out and play, like, I can't go outside. They won't let me outside. So I think the neighbors were kind of like, okay, you say you don't have a kid in there. My kid says you had a kid. We saw a kid running around. What's going on?
I think some weird shit's going on.
Yeah, I think that was probably what was happening. So they let them go in and check it out.
Got some chills going because I had a very similar experience once. At my last job, there was a vacant building across the lot, and it was built in the 1600s. It's actually where Daniel Webster was buried in Franklin, New Hampshire. Now, I had a guy who had never seen the building before say that I just watched somebody run up those stairs. I was like, what do you mean? There shouldn't be anybody over there. The building's shut down. It's locked up. He's like, no, I watched somebody run up the stairs in front of the window. So we walked over there to check it out. There are no stairs. There was a wall. There's no stairs in front of the window. But he distinctly watched somebody run up the stairs that were not there. So that freaks me out a little bit.
That's creepy.
That was a little creepy. In fact, I went to all the windows out front. There were no stairs in front of the window anywhere.
So no idea what the fuck this guy saw.
Yeah, no, it was a little freaky.
Did like a staircase used to be there?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I know there wasn't one when I went over and checked it out.
And this is a trustworthy person? Like you're just
I
trust
know.
this person?
He was a coworker. He was a pretty serious guy. And that's why I went to check it out because he's like, there's somebody over there. I'm like, we got trespassers. I got to go take care of this.
Damn.
Real talk, like the second a building is condemned, eliminate all the ghosts.
Yeah.
Like if there's a ghost, eliminate the building, start over from fresh. Like, let's go.
My other question is, why do ghosts always pick old, decrepit, creepy houses? Why wouldn't they pick a nice place? Like, why would they be like Saks Fifth Ave? Like, the ghosts are real. Why aren't they like hanging out the penthouse? That's where I'd be.
I think it's probably because the house is old, right? Like, if you have like new construction, nobody's died in the new construction. But, I mean, I guess even in new construction, you can have ghosts because sometimes they say the land is haunted.
So they're attached to the house or the land some way and they
Ghosts-
can't escape it.
Ghosts can also be attached to items, too. So, like, pieces of furniture, if you bring in, like... But again, yeah, it's usually old, so...
I gave a ghost a personality test one time. Super introverted. I don't know if that's all ghosts, but they just want to be left alone. You know, like, hey, like, give them a minute.
I need some more backstory on this. You gave a ghost...
Yeah. He's an INFJ. Like, just leave him alone. Okay, he's feeling, he's introverted. He just wants to do his thing. Like,
It's always disappearing on me. I don't know.
Yeah, like, he's a fucking flake. I couldn't get any answers out of him.
All right. Well, over the few years that Lillian and Edwin lived in the house, there was one incident where Lillian supposedly woke up one day. She went about her normal routine of showering, getting dressed, doing her makeup, but Edwin stated that she was in a trance-like state. Now, Edwin found this odd, but didn't really question his wife.
Don't like that. Don't like that.
So Edward didn't question his wife until hours later when he noticed his wife's car was still in the driveway. After some time, he began to wonder where his wife was, and he went searching for her. He finally found her digging a hole in the basement.
Why is it the basement? It's always I was sitting here like, don't say the basement. Don't say the basement. Why?
It was the basement. She repeated to him over and over again that she didn't know why, but she had to do this. And Edwin again thought this was weird, but left her to continue to dig in the basement.
Edwin.
Hours later, she arrived back up on the main floor to show her husband what she discovered.
She found something?
She found something. Want to take a guess?
Was it bones?
It was bones. It was bones. She found what was said to be a small pelvic bone.
Oof.
There's some conflicting stories here. Some things that I read said that it got sent out to New York, which found a little confusing. Why would it be sent out to New York and not Boston? Because they're in Massachusetts. But one report said that it wasn't human. Another report I found said it was. But
Can we just talk about Edwin for a minute?
Yeah, Edwin's sus.
Your wife's in the basement digging a hole when she's supposed to be at work.
he just
And
left
she's
her.
like, I'm looking for bones. He's like, yeah, cool, honey. I'll be upstairs.
Well, she didn't know she was looking for bones. She just knew she had to dig the hole.
Even creepier.
Yeah, it's a little odd. So despite the conflicting reports, Lillian strongly believed that a child died in her basement, burned in the kiln to hide the body. She stood vigil in the space where the remains were found and felt a sadness for a child who would never be identified. Edwin and Lillian moved out of the house in 2011 after a terrifying experience that would change them forever. Lillian began feeling odd and out of sorts. She experienced a sensation of being present but not in control of her body, and this lasted for 3 days. They called upon a friend, Bill Wallace, who was an empath, and he immediately, upon seeing Lillian, knew that something was not right. Bill watched as the apparition faded from Lillian to where she then stood behind her closely, with her hand on Lillian's shoulder. Behind Lillian was the woman, similar in build, long dark hair, and a very cold smile. Lillian had been on the couch for 3 days. 3 days this went on, where she sat on the couch in this trance-like state and didn't do anything. Of course, when Lillian comes out of this trance, she's screaming at Edwin, like, why didn't you, you just left me there for 3 days? But according to Edwin, he himself had been in a fog for 3 days and doesn't have many memories.
Ooh, that's scary. As the psychotherapist in the room, people do have psychotic breaks. It could be a single episode psychotic break where people have hallucinations, delusions. They have tactile hallucinations where they don't feel like themselves. But for two people to describe at the same time, that's not a mental illness.
Well, it was then that they decided they needed to move out of the house, or they believed that it could cost them their lives.
What part was it? Was it the fact that this third party's an apparition just moved in and out of you, and that was the sign? Is you've both been in trances for 3 days and don't know what's going on?
Or was it the digging up bones in the basement? I don't know.
No, clearly that's cool. That's okay.
That's
okay.
fine. They also had experiences where they had, and I didn't put this in the story, but they had experiences where they claim while they were renovating the house, the couple was from Dorchester. So
Massachusetts?
So while kind of rehabbing and getting the house ready to move in, they were traveling in between their apartment in Dorchester and then this house in Gardner. Around Christmas time, Lillian really wanted to decorate the house for Christmas, even though they weren't going to be there all the time. And she had some ornaments on top of one of the fireplace mantles. And when they left and came back, the ornaments were just in the middle of the floor.
No.
And there was no explanation, because then when they dropped them, I guess one of them, it shattered. So the ornament would have had to have been taken off supposedly and put onto the floor. Otherwise, the ornaments would break if they just rolled off. And
how did they last this long?
Honey, let's leave the city. Let's move out to the country. It'll be so nice.
I read that Lillian had always dreamed of owning a Victorian house. She saw the house, she fell in love with it, and he just really wanted to make her happy. And then they moved in, and all this stuff started happening.
I got a question too. What's the line for you two? If you were experiencing some type of paranormal activity, at what point do you leave? Right? Because you two own a house, and you've put a good amount of money into that house, right? At what point do you just cut all ties, even if you put everything into it?
It would definitely be after the Christmas ornaments be in the center of the room. That would freak me out.
Yeah.
But I would find a rational explanation for that. The minute my wife's in the basement digging, we're fucking moving. I don't care. I don't care if we take a loss in the house, we get an apartment, we're going back to the city.
Yeah, I think, even something less drastic than that, I think it would have to be they experienced doors being slammed in their face, and then they tried to debunk it. And the only way the doors would close was really giving it some force, really shoving the door closed. Because these are big, solid, heavy doors. Remember, they were built in the 1800s. It's not like your Walmart hollow prefab doors.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know. Call me a bitch, but like if I wake up with a weird feeling, I might leave. Never come back. Like, I don't know.
So I heard footsteps. I know there's somebody living above me, but I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Just in case.
I'm out. Well, so yeah. So I mean, after this, they decided they needed to move, and they never shared any of their stories with anybody for at least a year because they were just so terrified of what might happen if they did. The house sat for a few years. It was finally bought by a company called Dark Carnival in 2015. They went in, refinished, repaired the house, and once renovations were completed, they opened the house up to the public for tours and overnight stays. So whether you're a skeptic or a true believer, this is one location that should not be missed. Something else, I also found the resting place of S.K. Pierce himself. So I think when we go to do our investigation, I think we should go check that out.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just not going to the third floor.
I'm going all the way up.
Portals.
I read that you could actually go 4 floors up. So I believe we'll be able to go up to the Widow's Walk, all the way up to the top of the tower.
I'll
So,
be
yeah.
investigating the parking lot. You guys can do the
I'm
house.
going to be investigating this bottle of Captain.
So, yeah. So, I mean, if anyone is interested, you ready to go? I think we should do it. And
Yeah, I definitely want to go check that out. That sounds. After now that I know the history of the house, I'm a little freaked out.
Yeah, I think what's so cool about this one is like a lot of experiences I've been on for like looking for paranormal. There's always been like, oh, there's like a ghost, maybe like 2. Like this is like 15. Like
There's one on every floor. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, some of the reports I found, they say that there's only 2. Some say that there's more. There are supposedly more ghosts, but they didn't really give a whole lot of information. So I kind of just tried to stick with the ones that I could kind of get a backstory on. So that's sort of what I was doing.
So Dark Carnival, the company that owns it right now, this is like the tourist attraction is what they've turned it into.
Yeah.
Capitalize.
Okay. Now, you said that this is the 4th most haunted place
Yes.
in Massachusetts, but the 9th most haunted in the United States?
Yeah, I don't know that we talked about that on air, but yeah, I read that it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's up there.
I feel like as a skeptic, I don't know if ghosts are real or aren't real. I don't know truly where I feel onto it. But when I think of what it would take for ghosts to be real, I feel like it is a house like this, right? It's a house that has a lot of trauma where there was a ton of pain felt. Like I get so caught up like people die in houses all the time. Why are all fucking houses haunted, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But when you have something like this where there's just traumatic experience after experience after experience, like, God damn, is that some good drama, right? That's some
is,
good
yeah.
buildup. Like that could be haunted.
And it was all really based around like this one family. And now it's just
if
filled
you
with
buy-
sad stories that
If you buy in that ghosts are trapped by emotional energy, this guy was very attached to this house. He put a lot
Yeah.
of effort and time and feeling into it and how he designed it.
I say we make a pact right now on air that, SK got his chair money. Once we get our podcast money, we build our own 6,666
yeah.
square foot mansion, and we make sure that shit is haunted.
10 rooms.
10 rooms, baby.
10 rooms,
Fireplace in every room.
Fireplace in every room.
Butler running around, get on
70
firewood.
doors. I want speaking tubes.
No, we can already hear you from every room. Well, I guess, Kathy, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that story. That
Yeah,
You're
was
very welcome.
fantastic job. I really
that
enjoyed
was-
that.
Thank
was
you, thank
riveting.
you.
To our listeners, help us get that podcast money, all right? So do us a couple favors. Check out our Instagram, Weirder After Dark, where you can go ahead and see some pictures about the SK Mansion. We'll make sure that there's a bunch of different images as well as some of the research that Kathy has spent some painstaking time going ahead and get. We are so excited to have you here. And don't forget, as always, like this shit, subscribe to this shit, send this shit to your friends and your family because we would love to have you along for the ride. And we will be dropping another episode in a couple days with our experiences from the SK house.
Just want to say a personal thank you to all tens of our viewers.
Thousands, tens of thousands.
Tens of.
Millions? Okay, for like the 3 of you, thank you for coming. With that, thanks for coming to Weirder After Dark.
Thank you.